Welcome, everybody. This is Jim Lee from ClimateViewer News at ClimateViewer.com and ClimateViewer.substack.com. The climate clocks are ticking, and geoengineering is the threat. This has become very apparent because of everybody's favorite Darth Vader from I almost said the chemtrail world, from the geoengineering world, David Keith, who just recently posted on MIT Technology Review that we could start geoengineering in as little as 5 years. And anybody who's been following this channel for any length of time, since I heard about the climate clock, you can go back, you can check the tapes. I said, guaranteed, the climate clock is a threat, and geoengineering is the threat. And David Keith just came out and said exactly what I said. All that is on my Substack right now. The link is at the top of the details of this video. Just go to ClimateViewer.substack.com. You can check that out. If you're watching this anywhere else and you don't know who the heck I am, who is this guy on the screen? Jim Lee? What is Jim Lee? Go to youtube.com/@ClimateViewer. I also have a BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey channel, which you can find on connect.climateviewer.com. So I do have, copies of this elsewhere that you'll be able to check out. The videos get magically mirrored to the other channels. And very soon I'm going to be just live broadcasting on all the things. Working that out. Got bills to pay. The website server is up for renewal on the 1st of the month, and so far no tax return has come in, so kind of clenched butt cheeks over here. But God willing, we'll make it, and the website, if it goes down for a couple days, it'll be back up. But regardless, let's get into this thing. So this past weekend, we did have the private viewing of Forecast the Film. We had a lot of people show up. It was an absolutely amazing showing. The film, the preview that we're showing everybody is changing each time we have one of these meetings. So if you missed the last meeting, the next meeting will be February 28th. And you can go ahead and register for the Zoom private viewing at climateviewer.com/forecast the film, all one word. I'll drop that in chat for you guys. climateviewer.com/forecast the film, and you can sign up to come be part of the party. See what we're working on. Debbie was there. Hey, Debbie. But yeah, we're continually working on this. Tax returns, man, freaking, it's the worst, just like for us po people, that's the one time a year when you got kids and you go, okay, here's what are we going to try to get paid off, this year, pay your car insurance for the entire year, all that sort of stuff. It's a necessity. You know what I'm saying? But let me just type this in chat and then we'll get to the thing. Now, obviously, it would be stupid for me to read the entire article to you. And there's a link for that. Let me click it just to make sure. And yeah, it'll take you there and show you February 28th, 9 p.m. Eastern, showing it to, for me. And you just click that, register, and you'll get a link to be a part of the next one. So yeah, the last viewing went epically well. I hope you guys can show up for the next one. But anyway, this is probably, I started writing this, I want to say around 5 o'clock, and I really didn't expect it to go as long as it did. But my main problem with writing articles is that I have so much I want to link together, but I want to keep it coherent and still on point. So I'm trying my damnedest to, just stick to just the points of what we're talking about. So I want to, really break it down for you guys. And I'm going to go through the parts that aren't in the article. They're linked in the article. There's a couple things that are linked in there that are absolutely hilarious. But if you're a nerd and you're interested and you want to know all the finer details, definitely, go to the article and then read all that stuff. And yeah, to everybody in chat who's saying it, I'm right there with you. Weird. Okay, this is the first time in history this has happened. My live chat is not updating over here, but it is in my Streamlabs. Because I'm looking at my Streamlabs and I can see everybody's comments. Okay, now it's catching up again. YouTube, I don't know what you got going on, but yes, I miss Mike as well. To everybody talking about Mike Morales right now, that was my brother. All right, so on to the thing. The clock is ticking and the stage is set. Blocking the sun is the threat when unattainable goals are not met. This was my immediate gut reaction to this climate clock. And if you don't know what I'm talking about by the climate clock, it is at climateclock.world. And it's constantly counting down. It's got a whole bunch of different factoids over here on the side. But interestingly enough, I'm seeing this 5 years and I'm going, wait a minute, it's 2024. If it's 2024, 5 years from now is 2029. That's just in time for Agenda 2030. What the hell could they be up to? And, and it literally says at the very top here, time left to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So we all know that that's not going to happen because even if let's pretend in an alternate reality that we did magically limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Do you think they would actually tell you that? Hell no, there's way too much money invested in this. So I'm thinking to myself, what's the real agenda behind this propaganda? As a Generation Xer, it's in my nature to be an eternal skeptic. So I don't believe anything I hear, and I believe half of what I see. So the point of this article is just to summarize my thoughts on this. So the climate clock will run out July 21st, 2029. Did a rough estimate on it. 153 days from today is July 21st. 5 years from then is 2029. So if I'm wrong, I'm off by a day or two, sue me. The likelihood that emissions reduction goals will be met are zero. And I stand by that. Timestamp this, okay? Yes, Ed Zachary, 1976. I too am a Scorpio, and I was born in the year of the dragon. I was born on an Air Force base. My dad was a nuclear missile launch technician, so I was a bicentennial baby, and the U.S. Air Force gave me a gold coin that said bicentennial baby. Go figure. But Gen X for life. We are that generation you do not want to F with. Promise you. So what purpose could these clocks serve? Could it be that the technocrats are tired of waiting for capitalism and freedom-loving citizens to embrace the World Economic Forum's Great Reset, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change warnings, the United Nations Paris Agreement, and Agenda 2030? Whether you believe in CO2-based global warming or not, and I'm in the or not section, I'm with William Happer. I'm with Willie Soon. Learn climate facts. This video is not going to be about that because it doesn't really matter what you believe. Technocrats do not care what you believe. you know. So whether you believe in CO2-based global warming or not, by hook or by crook, believers are hell-bent, pun intended, on blocking out the sun to cool the planet. It's my firm belief that the climate clocks are a countdown to geoengineering and serve as a warning from the technocrat world order: submit or we will control the sun. Now, I said this in previous videos. I said this before this David Keith article came out. I just believe this firmly cements what I've been saying all along. And it kind of scares the hell out of me, just being blunt. So I already, after I sent the email out, from Substack, then I embedded the video you're watching right now in the article. So it won't be in the email, but anybody who just comes to this in the future, this video you're watching right now will be right here. So Satan, why does Jim have Satan right at the top? I mean, am I trying to be, am I trying to fear porn? What's that all about? Well, it turns out it's a real ass thing. So Andrew Lockley, interestingly enough, if you go to my Substack, if you just go to the ClimateViewer report, what you're going to see over here on the side is that I have some recommendations. And right here is Solar Geoengineering Updates by Andrew Lockley. Quick side story. Andrew, I hope you're watching this. Andrew Lockley is the forum moderator of the Google Geoengineering group, which has members such as Ken Caldera, Stephen Salter, John Latham, Alan Robach, all the geoengineers. Before I ever said the word chemtrail, before I ever cared about the topic of it, I was dragged kicking and screaming into it. I was in that group and I was debating Ken Caldera and his cohorts on why geoengineering is such a terrible idea, how dangerous these people are, all these things. At some point, there was a public relations paper that came out, and it came back overwhelmingly that the public does not want geoengineering. So I read to him, I'm going to bring this up real quick. I read to him a thing from the Asilomar conference, because basically Ken Caldera said, I really disagree with the findings of this, public relations, this public study perception of geoengineering. And I believe that if we framed the questions differently, then people would come back more positive in favor of geoengineering. And I told Ken Caldera, I said, you have now crossed the line from being a geoengineering researcher to a lobbyist. And trust me, if you guys ever deploy this crap, I'll be there with the tar and feathers. This was in 2012. All right. And Andrew Lockley banned me from the geoengineering group for threatening Ken Caldera with tar and feathers. Now, I want you guys to see why I used those words. Back in 2000, this is not in the article. Like I said, I'm going to go into things not in the article because it gives context. Back in 2010, there was this thing called the Asilomar Conference. Link in the live chat, special for you. And at that conference, this was said. And in other words, if the public comes to see geoengineering, as one attendee put it, a crazy idea cooked up by rich Anglo-Saxons to dominate the climate, then we will all be rightfully tarred and feathered. By the way, that's Ken Caldera right there. So, when I see him, literally shilling for changing perceptions of people, hey, let me ask you a question. Global warming's bad. Do you think it'd be cool if we, went up and sprinkled some chemicals in the sky to block out the sun to save us from global warming? Might kill many tens of thousands of people, but we would save more lives than, we did, than the geoengineering. You cool with that? 80% of the people responded, hell no. Ken Caldera says, well, if you framed it in a different way, i.e., if you did mind control on the people that you were asking honest questions, then you might get different results. This is how the government always works with propaganda. You frame the question in a way that you get the answer that you expect. So I literally just said, hey, I'll be there with the tar and feathers. I mean, they had to know exactly what I was talking about. Silvermore Conference Center, 2010, Pacific Grove, California. This was written by Jeff Goodall. And anyway, they knew what I was talking about. This is on yale.edu. So I made that image to put that quote in there, and here's the original reference for the article right there. The point being, it's ironic that Andrew Lockley, who, again, I literally have his Substack up here, okay? This is the same Andrew Lockley that banned me. And he puts out a geoengineering update newsletter, which is a summary of all the different, geoengineering papers. So I do this so that people can see what the hell these people are up to, okay? So I've got him suggested on the side of my Substack. Why not? But Andrew Lockley did a project called Satan last year. And Satan stands for Stratospheric Aerosol Transport and Nucleation. Interestingly enough, right here, researchers launched solar geoengineering test flight in UK last fall. This is dated March 2023. So it was actually fall of 2022. And Andrew, of course, lost his feces when he realized that it had got leaked to the public. Okay. And this is exactly what he said. You can't make this up. Leakers be damned, he wrote in an email to MIT. I've tried to follow the straight and narrow path and waiting for judgment day of peer review, but it appears a colleague has been led astray by diabolical temptation. There's a special place in hell for those who leak their colleagues' work, tormented by ever-burning sulfur, he added. This is the same guy. This is the same mother trucker that banned me for saying tarred and feathered. And he's literally going, look, I did a secret geoengineering project. I named it Satan, Stratospheric Aerosol Transport Nucleation. And I was waiting for it to come out in peer review so that the other scientists could review my study, and somebody leaked it to the press, and they should burn in hell. Burn in hell. I mean, snowflake's gonna snowflake. And Andrew, I'm trying to self-censor, but I just gotta say it. Andrew, that is the most bitch move I've ever seen. For you to ban me from your group for talking about geoengineering and how you guys were trying to spin. And then I mentioned the Asilomar conference for tarred and feathered. You banned me for that, but you got the nerve to go on MIT Technology Review and say whoever leaked your secret geoengineering program should burn in hell. Bro, you hypocrite extra hard. You take the cake. So yeah, that's him. And even colleagues from his geoengineering world flamed him on his own Google geoengineering group. This is the geoengineering group that I was a member of, and you can see it right here. Satan. He posted the article himself. By Andrew Lockley, March 2nd, 2023. Entire article here. And you just can't make this stuff up. The very first person, Danielle Vision, Glad you had fun, Andrew. For me, this is clear proof of your unseriousness and childishness, not to mention your overall threat, the overall threat you pose to the research field as a whole towards any kind of legitimacy. I personally don't want to be associated with you even remotely with anything you do now and in the future. So this will be my last message on the group before I unsubscribe. But that's what it is, keeping a secret, and of course he comes back. Steven Salter, weighs in on it. A whole bunch of different people weigh in, and Oliver Morton, famous guy. If you haven't read anything by Oliver Morton, you don't know much about geoengineering. But all of these people are responding, and they even talk about like gluing themselves to paintings. But if you want to really read a bunch of geoengineers fighting over how stupid what he did with Satan was, you should definitely read this. The link is right here, the geoengineering group. And then while you're there, click the little back button and go look at all of the stuff that they have. So, all the geoengineering news that gets posted regularly. These are geoengineering scientists. I was a member of the group from 2010 to 2012. It is freaking insane, the discussions going on up in here. Like intentionally setting off volcanoes. Like, you can't make this. I wonder if it'll even bring it up. It was a long time ago. Yeah, this only goes back. I would have to go way too far. Let me see. No, I got to be able to find it quickly. But basically, there was somebody who said, "Hey, what would happen if we intentionally set off a volcano?" And the very first response was, "My suggestion to you is get a good lawyer." But that's the kind of stuff going on in this group. You can't make this stuff up. So anyway, there's an Indian dude talking about the Satan balloon weather control. Pete Irvine, another guy. Now, Pete, I have right here, Pete Irvine, Plan A. You can actually click on that and go to Pete Irvine's, another person I've been following a long time, happened to be on Substack. I was like, well, I just want to point at these people and go, hey, these are geoengineers. You probably should actually listen to what they're saying because they're kind of scary. Pete Irvine said, this is ludicrous. The Satan stratospheric aerosol transport nucleation experiment sounds like a far more sophisticated effort than Make Sunset stunt, but it's an unequally helpful intervention. Why are they pooing on this guy? The reason why is because inside the geoengineering world, the actual scientists that study this stuff, that want to make it a reality in the future, they've finally come to their senses and realize that if they are not transparent, if we catch them trying to be secret about what they're doing, then it's more likely the public will revolt against it. So it's best that they err on the side of transparency. In fact, that was, what I covered in the last my first Substack article about the contrail avoidance group and intentionally creating clouds by day. They said it on the very last slide. The most important thing, transparency, transparency, transparency. They keep saying it, but they keep doing all this stuff on the DL. You know what I'm saying? So make of that what you will. So make sunsets in your face, and that's typically the way they've been. So Andrew Song and Luke Eisman, they're the opposite of what Andrew Lockley were doing. They literally have a website. They're like, buy some cooling credits from us. We're going to geoengineer the planet, one balloon at a time, and you can help fund this. And damn all the laws, damn all the people, from the solar geoengineering non-use agreement to the ETC group and Geoengineering Monitor and their hands off Mother Earth and all of the groups who said geoengineering shouldn't happen. So David Keith writes this article on MIT Technology Review. Solar geoengineering could start soon if it starts small. Now I want to point out a couple, obvious flaws in what's going on here. So he says, just in, our analysis suggests that a country or group of countries could conceivably start a subscale solar geoengineering deployment in as little as 5 years. 5 years. Oh yeah, that 5 years. That 5 years. So it's highly coincidental, but I don't believe in coincidences, that's what he would say, and the timelines all match up. So for those who don't know, David Keith's part of Harvard's Solar Geoengineering program. He tried to launch the Scopex Strato Cruiser in Tucson, Arizona. He got shut down by the ETC group. He tried to launch it in Kiruna, Sweden. He got shut down by the ETC group. They mention right here the SPICE projects, stratospheric particle injection for climate engineering. Also, in 2012, the SPICE project was shut down by the ETC group. So in every single case, the only geoengineering projects that have ever been stopped by any group in the world have all been stopped by the ETC group. How about them apples? And you don't hear them on YouTube bragging about what they're doing. They just be doing it. So that's interesting. So he describes a subscale deployment because that's the word of the day for what he's trying to do. He's like, okay, maybe we went too big. And by the way, I should mention, the money for Scopex was from Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates, the Hewlett Foundation, the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, and other philanthropists funding the Harvard Solar Geoengineering research program. So, yeah, Bill Gates right there. That's who's paying for it, and all that. So, interestingly enough, he describes subscale as mere kilograms of aerosol material versus a full-scale deployment, which would involve millions of metric tons. Okay? Now, then he goes right on to contradict himself. He also switches to the typical lobbyist approach, but I'm not advocating the thing that I'm currently writing about and suggesting with a timeline and suggesting which planes to use and how many. We oppose near-term deployment of solar geoengineering. In accord with the Climate Overshoot Commission, the most senior group of political leaders to examine the topic, we support a moratorium on deployment of geoengineering until the science is internationalized, globalized, technocrats, global governance of geoengineering, and critically assessed, and until the governance architecture is widely agreed upon. So he's saying, I'm not going to geoengineer until there's a whole bunch of, technocrats at some world government body, United Nations, that everybody agrees is in charge of this, and then we're going to do it. But then he goes on to say that full-scale deployment would take several hundred or specifically specially designed aircraft to loft chemicals in the stratosphere at the equator, but a subscale deployment could be done near the poles with as few as 15 business jets. And he specifically talks about the G600, the Gulfstream G500, G600s. Using assumptions confirmed with Gulfstream, we estimate that a G500, any of its G500, 600 aircraft could loft 10 kilotons of material per year to 15.5 kilometers. Now, I just want to point out for the record, because I think this is kind of important, globe.adsb exchange, and what's that pink guy right there? No, that's not it. This guy right here. Let me click on that plane. Damn it. Oh, that's a Gulfstream. And where's that Gulfstream currently flying? It's flying at 45,000 feet. So that Gulfstream is currently flying in the stratosphere. It is, if you look at across this map at all the pink planes, and the pink shows the height is, pretty much anything purple or below is in the troposphere. Anything in the pink, which if you click on any of these pink planes, they're all private jets, okay? I mean, there it is. There's another one. Bombardier flying at 45,000 feet. Did I click that one? That is a Cessna Citation flying at 44,725 feet. So he's suggesting using private planes, private jets to geoengineer the planet, when it turns out that if you look at almost all of the pink plane, almost exclusively, if you see a pink plane on here, it's a freaking private jet. 45,000 feet, private jet. So I rest my case on that one. But he did a flip right here. So David Keith's definition of subscale just went from mere kilograms to 10 kilotons in the same article. Like, bro, you don't think I see what you did there? Like, I just read the article. It's in the same damn article. And then they go on to have an infographic right here. How much is 100 kilotons? A subscale deployment of aerosols. What the hell? We just went from kilograms to 10 kilotons to 100 kilotons. Like, am I missing something here? Like, what in the absolute hell is going on? But of course, back in 2013, David Keith admitted that his plan to block sunlight by spraying sulfur into the stratosphere would kill many tens of thousands of people. Tell him, David.
This is a really important moral point. So if I made a decision, or if there was a collective decision to do a geoengineering program, and you put, say, the kind of program I think makes more sense would put about 1 million tons a year in, but let's say, you might end up killing many tens of thousands of people a year as a direct result of that decision. I think that has moral consequences. I don't sweep it under the rug. So this is a case where I take this much differently from Alan and think it's a much more serious issue. Now, it's true that as part of doing that, you would hope that the overall benefits of human mortality would be so that you would save many, many more people than that. But the fact that you would save more people than you killed doesn't mean there's no moral impact.
Doesn't mean there's no moral impact as he chuckles along. So this is the David Keith. And I go on to say, he's making the same argument that Robert Oppenheimer made. And if you guys haven't seen this previous video, Robert Oppenheimer made the exact same argument about justifying the creation of the atomic bomb. And I'll skip forward to that.
This instrument would never be used in war, and therefore they hoped that we would not start out by using it. On the other hand, they hoped, or other people hoped, that it would put an end to this war, save countless lives, put an end to a butchery that had been going on for many years and had been marked by atrocities, concentration camps, murderous raids on cities, Rotterdam and Dresden and Tokyo itself. And that on the whole we were inclined to think that if it was needed to put an end to the war and had a chance of so doing, we thought that was the right thing to do. We knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
So it's too damn similar. It's just too damn similar that the justification for geoengineering is almost identical to that of, Robert Oppenheimer. I mean, he literally was saying, well, we hope that we would save more lives than would be taken by the bomb. And at the end of the day, there were a lot of lives taken by the atomic bomb, but at the same point, now the whole world's in peril because of your creation. And geoengineering is much the same. If you design it and you say, we know it will kill people, but we hope it will save more lives than will, die as a direct result of what we're doing, you're not learning from the past. I mean, scientists don't ask the question, should we do this? They just ask the question, can we do this? And that's the part of science that really scares me, that our curiosity gets in the way of our ability to reason and think about the long-term ramifications of what we're doing. In fact, even at the Asilomar conference, they recognized that as for the U.S. Department of Defense, forget about it. To this group, such involvement prompts nightmares of a new military-industrial geoengineering complex. They were saying this in 2010, guys. They clearly recognized, even back then, that geoengineering had the potential to be used as a weapon. And Alan Robach made it very clear with his, research that there's 27 reasons why geoengineering is a bad idea. Military use of technology is number 26. And there's only 6 reasons that he could come up with why it's a good idea. So the guy David Keith was sitting across from the table from saying, I got a different opinion than Alan. That's the Alan he was talking about. So at the end of the day, I think these people are crazy. But of course, geoengineering is already happening. And a lot of people, I've seen this a lot in chat. I've seen this a lot in emails and in my Telegram chat, t.me/ClimateViewer chat. Link in the details if you want to join the Telegram chat. A lot of people saying that the sky is brighter, that the sun is brighter. Well, that is geoengineering. That is what geoengineering intends to do, to make the sky brighter to reflect sunlight, not just make clouds. Although we covered it in the last article about making contrail-induced cirrus, making cirrus clouds during the day, not by night, to block sunlight. Geoengineering, like David Keith and all these guys are talking, Andrew Lockley and Meg Sunsets, what they're talking about doing is making the sky brighter. And that's exactly what Chuck Long said in his presentation. Evidence of clear sky daylight whitening. Are we already conducting geoengineering? And he literally talks about a subvisual, long suggests that a high altitude ice haze created by water and other emissions like the metals and the soot and the sulfur is responsible. I'm talking about a subvisual contrail generated haze of ice, which we do not classify as a cloud, but gives the blue sky a whitish tint. This is turning the sky milky white. You can see this in any location on the planet, especially in America. In America, you can look up and you might have, say, on a cloudless day, it'll be deeper blue directly above you. And as you look to the horizon, it'll be milky white. And that's because you're looking through more of the atmosphere. That buildup of chemicals in the stratosphere is geoengineering. It comes from jet exhaust. They're already geoengineering. Every plane on the planet is geoengineering today, by definition. They want to ignore this. The Indian Institute of Science literally said, we found 10,000 black carbon particles in every cubic centimeter, 18 kilometers in the stratosphere, and that given the shape and location of these particles, it could only come from jet fuel. So this isn't even debatable. This is the original source of the article, and this is the scientific paper they published in 2017 about it. And all of these metals are carried into the stratosphere from jet fuel. So, in summation, I previously told you about the airline industry's plans to make clouds by day and none by night in geoengineering with contrails. If you haven't watched the previous video on this or read the article, please do, because I think you'll find it an eye-opener what they're saying. With all the, quote, air quotes, accidental geoengineering already happening, and the uncertainty of climate models, why won't the technocrats explain how much geoengineering is enough before we reach a tipping point where, quote, many tens of thousands of people are killed from legalized, globally controlled, full-scale geoengineering deployment? So I reiterate that these climate clocks are a countdown marker, that they've set the goal, they've set the deadline, and the goal cannot be met. It will not be met. Nothing will be good enough for these technocrats. And on a side note, side rant, I even heard Elon Musk talking about a carbon tax as a solution. And like, I hate the guy, okay? I love that, X and Twitter has become much more uncensored, and that he brought out the U.S. government and all the stuff that happened with the Twitter files. But when he talks about climate change, I want to pull my freaking hair out, because carbon taxes only hurt poor people. And these technocrats love talking about carbon taxes because it's not going to affect them. But as a reminder to all you technocrat globalist punks, go and look at the yellow vest movement in Paris. Because when Emmanuel Macron tried to put carbon taxes on gas and people could not afford to fill their tanks, they damn near burnt the city to the ground. And if you think that that's going to fly here, there, or anywhere, come at me, bro. Because tar and feathers will be the least of your concerns if you try to impose carbon taxes on the poor people who are scraping by, trying to feed their families. And you're going to do this because of global warming? You think that people are going to buy this when you hit them so hard in their paycheck that they can't even afford to drive to work? Good luck. So, in a nutshell, the climate clocks are bad news I'm not going to say how I really feel about them or what should be done to them, because I don't advocate you know what. But to these technocrats that are pushing the geoengineering agenda, setting a deadline for when, enough's enough, and the climate, pandemics, the climate lockdowns, the geoengineering will occur, which happens to coincide with the solar minimum and a passive, populace because of the decline of the solar energy. It's a scary, culmination of all the things all at once. They know that people are going to be checked out. They know that people are burnt out. And now you're going to be broke out. Carbon taxes, geoengineering, everything, they're going to hit you simultaneously all at once when that clock runs out. And they're projecting, which they always do. They're projecting right now with their lead spokesperson, the Darth Vader of geoengineering, David Keith himself, saying we could start geoengineering, legal global governance geoengineering, with a country or many countries in as few as 5 years. Remember this video, because I'll be reminding people 5 years from now, I told you so. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Anyway, knowing is half the battle. And with information comes power, and with power comes great responsibility. So please use the information that I provided to you here in this video on ClimateViewer.com, ClimateViewer.org, ClimateViewer.substack.com to attack ideas, not people. Please share this video. Please share the article. Share it far, share it wide, and share it in weird ways, because people should know about the geoengineers and the countdown that's coming. Thank you for tuning in to a late night discussion about this. I know that having 120 viewers at 10:52 on a Sunday night is a blessing. So I appreciate everybody who has, showed up tonight. I appreciate everybody who has supported me over the past years. And I definitely appreciate everybody who has supported me monetarily through Patreon, who've signed up to become a paying subscriber, on Substack. No questions, Jim? What did I miss something in chat? Is CO2 really the problem? No. CO2 is plant food. I get their arguments for why, they want to blame CO2. But it is the least of the problems. In the order of climate change, it goes like this. What the sun's doing. Galactic cosmic ray formation of clouds, water vapor, then greenhouse gases. Period. This is like third grade stuff. And they want to focus on the smallest part. 300 parts per million. Like less than 1% of what the atmosphere is filled with. Ignore water vapor. Ignore clouds. Ignore what they're doing to the stratosphere. All the metals. They want to ignore all of that and focus on CO2. And the reason why is if you go and I'm going to plug it. You know why? Because I love the guy, and why not? Right here in the very first article, very first paragraph, technocrats. I thought about what should I link for technocrats. And I wanted to link to this. Technocracy Rising, the Trojan Horse of Global Transformation by Patrick Wood. And the reason... Oh, I can barely reach it. And the reason I did this is because once you understand technocracy and what its roots are, and you understand that there is a movement to have a global cabal of technical experts that are unelected bureaucrats to run every aspect of your life. And guess what their single monetary global unit would be? A unit of energy. That would be CO2. That's why you hear carbon taxes, carbon credits, carbon-based money. Central bank digital currency, probably based on energy and CO2. It all goes back to the banksters, and the banksters go back to the technocrats and the technocracy movement. It's my firm belief. All the lines point back to a singular source, and Patrick Wood nailed it in this book. If you've not read it, I suggest you do. I don't get anything from you buying Patrick's book, but I met him at G. Edward Griffin's conference, Global Warming and Inconvenient Lie, where I gave a presentation. And the man, the myth, the legend. Technocrats. They're the problem. So more people need to know. Sharing is caring, so that's how you can help. And never doubt that a small group of dedicated individuals can change the world. In fact, they're the only thing that ever has. Love you, mean it, guys. See you on the next one. If the video resonates with you, leave me a comment because I love hearing from y'all. First time here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell. Yeah! Remember, it would be impossible for me to do this without your support, so please join my Patreon or buy me a coffee on PayPal. And always, attack ideas, not people.